Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video and welcome to a reading vlog. Today I'm going to see how many of the shortest books on my TBR I can get through in one day. So every few months I like to set aside a reading day where I spend 12 hours or as close to 12 hours as I can just reading. I really like doing this one because obviously I like reading, but also because I really love reading books in one sitting, and I really like setting aside like a big dedicated chunk of time for reading. So today I'm going to be focusing on two readathons. The TBR Clear Out Readathon, which I am hosting myself throughout the month of April, and I am not doing very well on so far. We're a week into April when I'm filming this, and I have finished 0 books so far for the TBR Clear Out Readathon. I know that I will have a lot more time to read later on in the month, but the TBR Clear Out Readathon is not going very well so far. So far, the only thing I have been reading in April is half of The Mars House by Natasha Pulley. I'm halfway through. It is amazing, but it is quite long, and it is longer than it looks. Like, the writing is quite small, and it's also quite dense, and it's also so good and amazing that I kind of just want to read it really slowly and savor it. So this was probably a mistake to read during the TBR Clear Out Readathon, but also it's so good and I love it, so it's fine. But I thought I would try and catch up a bit today and read some of the shortest books on my TBR all in one day. And today I'm also taking part in the Tackle Your TBR Readathon, which is hosted by Kirsten from ReadingNymph, and this is a 24-hour readathon that she hosts every few months. And there are a few prompts, but the basic idea is to set aside a day for reading, which is what I'm doing today. I'm gonna read for 12 hours, not 24, and this isn't the exact day of the readathon. I'm a little bit late, but you know, I think that's fine. So there are 4 prompts for Kirsten's Tackle Your TBR Readathon, and they are to read a book on your TBR, which all the books I'm going to be reading today are. They're all books from my physical TBR. Continue a series or a book that you're in the middle of. So I might try and read a bit more of The Mars House by Natasha Pulley today, by which I mean basically all I want to do is read The Mars House all day because it's so good, but also I do feel like there are some shorter books on my TBR that I would like to read today, and kind of get off my TBR. The third prompt is to read a book that you keep putting off, and the fourth prompt is to read a short book. So most of the books I have in my stack here are short books that are on my physical TBR, and there's at least one of them I think that would apply to a book that I keep putting off. So let me go through my list and what I have on the cards for today. So I have already just started this morning reading The Premonition by Banana Yoshimoto, which is a short book, one of the newer books on my physical TBR, and I'm absolutely loving it so far. I really, really love Banana Yoshimoto. She's one of my favourite writers. She's a Japanese writer. This one is translated by Asa Yonenda, and I just think it's great so far. So this is the shortest book on my TBR. I would say it's 130 pages, but also like there's quite a lot of space and the writing is quite large, so this will not take me very long at all, and hopefully I'll finish this morning. Then after that I think I'm going to pick up Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev, which I think would definitely count for a book I've been putting off because this was on my TBR I think for the last 12-hour like reading in one day vlog I did, or maybe it was the vlog before, but I definitely have had this on one of my like reading lots of books in one day TBRs before and not got to it, so maybe today will be a good time to get to it. This isn't too long, it is 200 pages, but the writing is quite small, but I think I could definitely get through this today, so I might pick this up later on. Then I have 2 other very short books on my TBR. I'm hoping to read one of these today, but I'm not sure that I'll read both. So here we have Jaguar Nana by Cyprian Akwenzi. This is a Nigerian classic from the 1950s. And then I also have Here Be Icebergs by Katja Adu. This is a short story collection from Peru, translated by Rosalind Harvey, and I think this would be quite interesting and probably a quick read. Short story collections usually are. I kind of want to read both of these today, but I feel like Fathers and Sons needs to be a bigger priority, so I'll see how I get on. I think, to be honest, I could probably finish those 4 in one day, and after that I will probably just carry on reading The Mars House, but if I happen to get through all 4 of those and there's a lot of the day left and I don't want to just read The Mars House, then there are 2 other relatively short books on my TBR which I'm hoping to get to at some point in April, and I might start today. So here we have Once Upon a Tome, Adventures of a Rare Bookseller by Oliver Darkshire. This is a work of non-fiction. And I also have here The Heroines by Laura Shepperson, which is a work of historical fiction. This is slightly longer in page count, but the writing is quite big, so I don't think this is actually too long a novel, so I might try and start this today. I'm just gonna see how I go and see how much reading I manage to get done today. Like I said, I might just find myself pulled back to The Mars House this afternoon because this book is just amazing, but I would like like to try and get a few books off my TBR today rather than just spending the whole day reading The Mars House, because I think it would take me all day to finish it. It is taking me quite a while so far, but it is so good. Okay, let me get on with the reading and I will check in again later. Hello again, it's a bit later in the day and I have finished reading The Premonition by Banana Yoshimoto, and I'm also about halfway through Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev, so I thought I would check in again. So The Premonition was not my favourite Banana Yoshimoto book. It has the kind of beautiful, sort of like ethereal quality that all her writing has, and I really enjoyed the writing style, but I slightly struggled with the story. So this book is basically about a young woman. She's sort of 19 years old and she goes to stay with her aunt, because she is having kind of memories of her past that are resurfacing that she has kept buried, and everything kind of goes on from there. I think the main thing that I struggle with in this book is that there are two relationships which are just like not really okay. There is a 30-year-old school teacher having a relationship with one of her 18-year-old students, or they've had a relationship in the past and it's not really addressed. And there's also a kind of love story between adopted brother and sister, which I just found quite icky. So I feel like I really love the writing style, as I always do with Banana Yoshimoto, but I couldn't quite get over the ickiness. So yes, not my favourite Banana Yoshimoto book. I am feeling a little bit disappointed with that one. Like, I still really enjoyed the reading experience, as I always do with her books, because I just really like her writing, but yes, not my favourite of her stories, but there we go. And then I'm about halfway through Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev, which is a Russian classic. This one I have is translated by Peter Carson. And I'm finding this really interesting. So this book is from 1862, and it's about a kind of generational clash between a young man and his father. The young man is in his early 20s and he's just come home from university to live again with his father and uncle, and he brings with him a university friend of his who is a nihilist. In fact, they're both nihilists, and their kind of philosophical point of view and the fact they don't believe in anything is very much opposed to his father's view. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this so far. I've read a little bit of Turgenev before. I've read his novella First Love, and I think I've read some other short stories as well, but I would say that I'm liking this even more than First Love, which I really liked, so I'll see how I get on with the rest of this, but I'm really enjoying that so far, and I'll check in again soon. Hello again. So it's now about 4 p.m. And I've just finished reading Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev, which I really enjoyed. I'm so glad I finally got to this. I thought this was a really great, really interesting story of generational conflict, with a few love stories thrown in, and a really interesting look at kind of Russian society in the mid-19th century, at a point in time when a lot was changing. I did quite a lot of 19th century Russian history at school, so I had like good social context in my head, I guess, and I find this time period quite interesting, so I really enjoyed that. I feel like the thing I like about Turgenev is that he has that same like atmosphere and quality and interesting themes, interesting characterization that Tolstoy has, but like doesn't take you nearly so long to read, and that's really nice. He kind of reminds me of Chekhov too, I would say, sort of like somewhere in between Tolstoy and Chekhov as a writer, but yeah, I really enjoyed Fathers and Sons. I kind of hated Bazarov, who is one of the main characters, and I feel like maybe I wasn't meant to, but I still really enjoyed the book, despite kind of hating Bazarov. Maybe I was meant to a little bit, but I feel like he was meant to be a bit more of an anti-hero, whereas I just kind of hated him. But I still really thought the book was great. So I really enjoyed this, would definitely recommend it. Nice to finally read some more Turgenev. And then I'm having to think about what I'm going to read next. Next, I feel like something a bit different. So I think I might pick up Here Be Icebergs, which is a short story collection, which I think should be fun, and it's very short, so this won't take me very long. And then after that, I'll see what time it is and decide what to read next. Hello again. We're a bit further into the evening now, and I've just finished reading Here Be Icebergs, which I didn't massively get on with. I feel like I'm not having the most successful of reading days today, but this was not really for me. So this is a collection of short stories about, I guess, dysfunctional families, many of which are abusive. Most of the short stories are pretty intense and grim, and they're also quite, like, high literary, I suppose I would say. You know, no speech marks, experimental writing style, quite confusing to follow, which is not really my cup of tea. So these were kind of just not for me, I would say. There were a few stories that I did think were really interesting. I think especially If Anything Ever Happened to Us, the second story, I liked, but then a lot of the rest of the stories I sort of struggled with, and as the collection went on, I kind of lost theme of it. To be honest, I feel like I probably would have DNF'd this if it hadn't been so short and if I hadn't been reading on a reading day, because this was just the case of, yeah, not the right book for me, and that's fine. I have a bit of time left, so I'm thinking I might try and pick up one more book. I'm not really feeling in the mood for Jaguar Nana. I feel like I want to read something more modern but not super literary, so I think I'm going to pick up The Heroines by Laura Shepson, which I've been meaning to get to for a while. This is a Greek myth retelling, kind of reading group historical fiction. I got this book at the book launch, which was more than a year ago now, and I still haven't read it, and I've meaning to for a while, and I am feeling really excited for it, and I feel like maybe this is the book I need to rescue my reading day. I mean, I say that Fathers and Sons was really great, and I did like bits of the Banana Hashimoto novel, but yeah, I'm excited for The Heroines, so let me get started with this. I might not finish it today because it is a bit longer. This is more like 300 pages, whereas the other things I've been reading today have been more like 100 to 200 pages, but hopefully I'll get through a chunk of it, and I'm looking forward to it, and I will check in again a bit later in the evening. Hello again, good morning. So it's the next day now, and I did indeed finish off reading The Heroines last night, but by the time I finished it, it was like 11 PM, and I didn't really want to film a clip for this vlog, so I thought I would just film it in the morning instead. So yeah, I really enjoyed The Heroines. It was definitely the book I needed to like save my reading day, because it was much faster paced than everything else I've been reading, and it was very intense and dark and grim, but also really engaging and readable, and just like really powerful. I always feel like my experience of reading Greek myth retellings must be different to quite a lot of other people's, because I have very little information about Greek myths. I just don't know how I missed them out in my like childhood or whatever, but I basically don't really know many Greek myths at all. And reading The Heroines, a lot of the names I recognised were from like other Greek myth retellings that I have read, rather than from the Greek myths themselves, which I feel like is not most people's experience when they read Greek myth retellings, but it kind of works for me because because I have no idea what's coming. The Heroines is a retelling of the Phaedra myth, but with Medea featuring as a character as well. I don't know whether Medea is kind of relevant in the original Phaedra myth. I think not, possibly, but as I said, I don't really know the myths very well. And it also kind of features the Theseus and the Minotaur story, which was one of the very few Greek myths that I did know, but I didn't really know anything else going on in this book. So this book begins with Theseus coming to Crete, where Phaedra is a princess. Theseus slays the Minotaur in the middle of the labyrinth, although it's very clear in this novel that this is no act of heroism and mostly just an act of barbarity. And after that, Theseus ends up marrying Phaedra, the princess of Crete, and bringing back to Athens. Phaedra has many reasons to hate Theseus and soon finds herself in an increasingly difficult and dangerous position, and everything kind of goes on from there. This book is very much about gender power struggles and about sexual violence against women by men, and I feel like those themes were handled really well in this book. The characterization was also great. Phaedra as a character was fantastic, and her kind of character development over the course of the novel I thought was really, really good, and I thought Medea was done really well. And the writing, like I said, was really engaging, really gripping. This was a great one to read all in one sitting, actually, because it both was very intense but also had like that really readable writing style. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I would definitely recommend, and especially if you're someone who's looking for more like realist rather than magical Greek myth retellings, then this is a really good one to go for, along with Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati. If you haven't read that, that's probably my other favourite Greek myth retelling, and I found both the Heroines and Clytemnestra like more my kind of book than Circe was. So if you tried some of the more like magical Greek myth retellings and didn't quite get on with them, then I would definitely recommend Clytemnestra and the Heroines. So anyway, I really enjoyed that. So that means that I did manage to finish off reading 4 books yesterday. I probably read for more like 13 hours rather than 12, but it seemed silly to stop when I had not very much left of the Heroines to go. Yeah, I really enjoyed the Heroines, and I really enjoyed Fathers and Sons. The Premonition was not my favourite Benoni Hashimoto, but there we go. And I didn't really get on with Here Be Icebergs, but that's okay. Not everything is for everyone, and it was just a bit literary for me. I didn't actually read any more of The Mars House by Natasha Pulley yesterday, which I am a bit sad about because I love it. I love it so much so far, but I think I'm going to crack on with that today, and that'll be my main focus for the next few days. I'm just over halfway through, and it is just so good. It's so good. So yeah, a pretty productive reading day. 4 books off my physical TBR, which makes my TBR Clear Out progress a bit better than it was before. And hopefully I will get a lot more read in the rest of the month. We still have 3 weeks left to go of April. So anyway, today it's back to work and back to reading The Mars House. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. And also, I always forget to say this, but I really enjoy when other booktubers say to leave an emoji in the comments, because I watch a lot of booktube and I often want to say something, or like say, hi, I watched your video, it was great, but I don't really know what to say. So I now leave emojis whenever people say to do that, because I think that's quite a nice thing to do. So if you enjoyed this video, or in general any of my videos, and you have no particular comment to say, then please leave a teapot emoji in the comments, because that seems appropriate for my channel and all the tea I drank yesterday. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.